John Scott here with Jonathan Acosta. It is in the 90s. It is sunny. We are here at the Arizona Biltmore Hotel for the NFL owners meetings here. Tough gig for the two of us.
Man, this is brutal.
I know, and I just came from a week in Florida from vacation. I'm never coming back to Buffalo here. We spoke with Bills general manager and president of football operations, Brandon Beane, for about 20-25 minutes this morning. Small group of us here, and so many things were touched on here. But we're going to start with wide receiver because that's the biggest talking point that has been for years now. Let's start with the acquisition of DJ Moore and what Beane had to say about the reason he identified Moore as the one he wanted to bring on to be the big boost for that unit.
Well, I think with what we saw from the wide receivers last year, it was clear and obvious to everyone that something needed to be done at that position. Maybe more than one something, but something needed to be done. Specifically bringing in sort of a wide receiver to lead that group. Khalil Shakir, maybe the veteran guy in that group, but he's more of that underneath guy, the yak. Go to him on third down, go to him on screens, but you need that big body outside. DJ Moore brings sort of more of those wide receiver one qualities to this team, and Brandon Beane really spoke to sort of how dynamic he is. Also as a guy with ability in terms of yards after the catch, and a guy that, frankly, the point on offense is to score points, and a guy that comes in and is going to help this offense score points. He mentioned specifically how you can never have too many weapons for Joe Brady and Pete Carmichael, the new offensive coordinator, and Josh Allen to have at their disposal in order to go out there and make this offense effective and sort of really light up the scoreboard. And I think that this is a move that Brandon Beane envisions DJ Moore having that sort of impact on this offense. But he makes that move. You're like, okay, like, are the Bills done at the wide receiver position for this offseason? He said that if there's the right guy there at pick 26 in the first round, that he would be open to taking a wide receiver there, which I think was noteworthy, right? Just him saying that doesn't guarantee that, yeah, they're going to sit there and take a Casey Concepcion at pick number 26. But just the fact that he's even thinking about it, despite the resources that he's already invested at that position this offseason, I think is noteworthy because it wasn't insignificant draft capital that they sent to Chicago. Part of that trade package was a second-round pick. So they sit here with no second-round pick. They go from round 1 to round 3. So you're talking about maybe them investing, if they do go wide receiver in the first round, their first 2 draft picks at wide receiver. That would be significant investment in a position group that I think everyone saw really needed it.
There's no denying the impact DJ Moore is going to make, the improvement he's going to make on that group as a whole. We could debate, we have debated whether the contract is worth it, whether the second-round pick attached with that sort of a contract was the right move to make. But in terms of just the football player and elevating the passing attack, it is unquestioned DJ Moore is a significant upgrade to that group. Let's go to that second-round pick because that's something where Brandon Beane, James Cook, Osiris Torrance, Cole Bishop, that has been a sweet spot for him to find some really good football players, and they do not have one. He was asked point blank, because of your history in there, and usually those 60 range or whatever, the depth of talent that is that going to impact you, whether trading back from the first round to get into a second round or elevate up? And of course, in typical Beane fashion, he's open for business in either capacity.
Yeah, it was kind of really... It was an answer, but it was kind of a non-answer because Brandon Beane doesn't really address those questions all that often very directly. It's just like, hey, we have to sort of stack our board and see how it goes and everything. But it is worth talking about because he has had the success in the late second round, especially compared to maybe some recent struggles in the late first round, early second round. You think of Keon Coleman. You think of, obviously, Kaiir Elam as a guy who fits in that discussion as well. So the value that you can find in that late second round, because especially if you're a team like the Bills where maybe you're not looking for a specific position and you're looking for best talent available, that late second round you can really find good value if that's the sort of mindset that you're looking in. We know Brandon Beane loves to trade. I would, despite his answer in terms of being available to take a wide receiver at pick 26, I think still the preference for Beane, if we were to sort of project out to the draft and how that first night goes, is if the board is falling a certain way and there's guys that he likes, I could see him wanting to trade back and fall back into that second round, again, because of the success that he's had there, but also this team has positions to address other than wide receiver. They have a few holes to plug in, and obviously trading back and picking up a couple of maybe middle round picks helps Brandon Beane do that in a better way than just maybe sinking all of your assets into wide receiver with the first and essentially second-round pick.
Beane saying the scout's going to gather next week and really start to dive into stacking the board. Or almost at the complete end of all of the pro days. And so the evaluation period is not over, but they have a lot of the information that they need, and the board will start to be stacked. You talk about the draft and positions that they need. I asked specifically about linebacker because it really has not been addressed in free agency. Beane saying we've had some conversations with free agents, some veterans, but they're kind of at the point with veterans in general. We're going to wait until after the draft so both sides kind of know where they're at. To me, that indicates linebacker probably pretty high on their list of guys that they're going to not only address at the position, but maybe do it higher in the draft.
Well, in a specific hypothetical you mentioned, is like these veteran linebackers that are available don't want to sign with a team, and then that team takes a linebacker in the first round, and then all of a sudden they're in a fight for playing time. Does that mean the Bills are going to take a linebacker in the first round? Probably not, but would I at least be surprised if they don't take one in the first 2 days of the draft? 100%, just because of, we've seen the injury issues with Terrell Bernard.
Dorian Williams.
And Dorian Williams, and then other than that, Matt Milano is a free agent, right? Who else is there at linebacker? You have Joe Andreessen, but in terms of starting quality linebackers, you're really looking at Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, and that's maybe it. Also, you probably want to bring in guys that truly fit or maybe understand the type of scheme that Jim Leonhard wants to run. You have to address that through free agency, or if it's in the draft, the guy that's played in a similar type of system in college. So I'm expecting this team to invest in linebacker in the draft, and I'm also expecting them to do it in free agency again with maybe one of those veterans after the draft. Maybe a guy like Shaq Thompson, who seemed to enjoy his time in Buffalo. Maybe he's one of the veterans that is waiting to see how many guys maybe the Bills draft at linebacker. And then if depending on conversations with other teams, what the cap situation is still like with teams, including the Bills and other teams, if he feels comfortable with coming back to Buffalo, maybe sort of being, again, that veteran leader at the position that he was last year.
Looking for speed still at every position. He was asked specifically about edge rusher, so I think edge rusher is still very much in the mix as well. I will say something I took away is I think I have a greater sense that Michael Hoyt is going to be part of the mix more and earlier in the season than I was anticipating coming off the Achilles injury. There's no specific timeline here, but I think I've been operating of let's not count on Michael Hoyt until midway through the season because of when he suffered the Achilles. Brandon Beane didn't say it specifically, but I just am getting a sense with how it seems he's progressing. He may be in the mix to start the season and be at least part of some sort of a rotation. Let's talk about some other moves in-house. Dalton Kincaid, the fifth-round option, is picked up. I'm not going to say it was really that big of a surprise. It seemed it was going to trend in that direction here, but there still is work to be done with Kincaid, who, when on the field, showed maybe his best promise yet, but it's the getting on the field and staying there that still continues to be the issue.
Yeah, fifth-year option keeps him here in Buffalo through 2027. And to your point, when he was on the field, we saw how the words that come to mind are effective and efficiency. The Bills' offense just seemed way more efficient when he was on the field and sort of became a go-to guy for Josh Allen in terms of the red zone, scoring touchdowns, a career high with 5 receiving touchdowns this past season. And that was only on 39 catches, right? So 1 out of every 8 catches for Dalton Kincaid ended up in a touchdown this year. So again, remarkable efficiency. It's all about that leg, right? And even Brandon Beane talked about it, how he's been managing this knee now for 2 years. And so there's certain things he can and can't do. But this offseason is really about sort of strengthening that area, working on maybe like the quad around the knee and everything. Because this time last year, he was talking about the need for Dalton Kincaid just to sort of build more armor, get stronger overall to be able to withstand everything that comes with a 17-game season. And Brandon Beane said that he feels like Kincaid did do that and was able to sort of hold up elsewhere around his body. It was the knee that gave him more issues. So I think the key this offseason is Kincaid sort of pouring more of his efforts not into a holistic recuperation or strengthening of his body, but maybe more honing in on that specific area, so that way he's not going into a third year of sort of managing and dealing with that same part of his body.
Left guard, maybe one of the biggest position battles we're going to enter training camp, trying to figure out here. Alec Anderson seems to be the one on the inside track because he's been with the building. Austin Corbett was just signed here. Never know. I think guard's still very much in the mix as well. Brandon Beane saying he expects it to be a healthy competition. So right. I think another addition through the draft is coming there. So they're not done at guard. There also still could be some guy on the street that could come in as well.
That's right. At any other position, you talk about, for example, safety. They've already signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Geno Stone. They bring back DeMar Hamlin here recently. And actually, speaking of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I thought his comments on that were pretty interesting because he's a guy who's known to sort of have this personality where he's not afraid to talk smack with anyone around the league and everything. And he was asked, hey, is this something where he's going to need to tone it down to sort of fit into your culture and everything? And he's like, listen, we've had our conversations with him. He knows how maybe his welcome has been worn out in past stops. But that edge is something that we want him to bring to this team. So I think this team is not bringing in C.J. Gardner-Johnson to say, hey, leave the personality traits that you've displayed elsewhere, leave those behind. We just want you for your ball skills. No, I think they're bringing him in knowing the whole package that they get with him, and that's what they're looking to sort of get out of him. But still, that secondary, I mean, we don't know for sure who that starter is going to be next to Cole Bishop next season, right? And do you still maybe want to add a cornerback, knowing that, hey, you have Christian Benford and Maxwell Hairston? What else do you have at cornerback? So to your point, there's still a lot of other position groups that this team maybe won't even be done yet addressing.
Josh Allen, have we addressed him yet?
Is he important?
Yeah, so he had foot surgery after the season and was on crutches at the Joe Brady introductory press conference. We're like, oh, okay. He had that surgery, played through it since the middle of December when he suffered that injury against the Cleveland Browns. We know how tough he is. The recuperation seems to be on track as well as it looks like. Workouts are going to start sometime in the next week or two, and Allen is expected to be participating.
Yeah, so the Bills can start those workouts early April. April 6th, I believe, is the date, and they're able to start early because they have a new head coach, and the NFL allows for teams with new head coaches to get a start on off-season workouts a little bit early. So I think April 6th is that date, and since Joe Brady's the new head coach, the Bills can start early. And look, because it's starting a couple weeks more in advance than it normally is, you wouldn't fault the team for maybe saying, hey, like, Josh may be there, but may not be a full go. We're still going to manage him. He's the most important person in the franchise, right, in the organization. So you would understand them if they want to take it a little bit slowly. Brandon Beane said, look, I don't want to say he's at 100% right now, but by the time football activities get started on the field in April, he should be full go, and I think that's something that's encouraging for every Bills fan to hear.
Dorian Strong had neck surgery within the past month or so after the season ended. Still unknown, though, about the future of his football career. It's a serious injury, and there's still not a lot of information. We're in the healing stages of that surgery, according to Brandon Beane. Anything else from this morning? There was all these kind of one-off topics that we were getting to.
So on the topic of one of the rules proposals by the Cleveland Browns was for teams to be able to trade draft picks up to 5 years in advance as opposed to currently 3. When we talked with him, he was basically saying, look, this thing is not going to pass. There's not a whole ton of support for it. And I think just shortly after that, I think we saw the notification that the Browns had actually rescinded that proposal. So that rule not going into effect. The other thing he talked about was an 18-game season and sort of the discussions that have to happen around that, whether it's the preseason going down by 1 game. There will certainly be conversations about adding an extra bye week. I'm sure that's something that the players are going to be sort of fighting for, saying, hey, if we're adding this extra game, give us an extra week of rest too. He even brought up sort of load management and how that's been a topic of conversation in the NBA, and obviously them playing an 82-game schedule. Obviously the NFL not going to 82 games, but 18 games is a long season.
Yeah.
So how that might be one of the conversations that comes up within league circles if this 18-game push is something that gets closer to passing, that load management and how that might look. Increasing roster sizes, especially on game day, maybe going from the 46, 48 number to 50, 51. So there's little nuggets that it's not just saying, hey, 18 games, we're going to make a lot of money, we're going to go do this. No, there's conversations that have to be had with other coaches, GMs, owners, and players to make this more of a reality and how this is actually going to work.
More immediately, Beane did say, tentatively, you can't have it official yet, but there is an expectation. The Bills and the Browns in Cleveland, technically Berea, leading into a preseason game week number 2, will hold a joint practice here. So once again, Bills getting into a joint practice as they did a year ago with the Chicago Bears. I think we touched on everything again.
Yeah.
You can catch all of Beane's comments directly on the YouTube page, on WGRZ's YouTube page as well as over on WGRZ.com. With Jonathan Acosta, I'm John Scott for Channel 2 Sports.